Tracking your food intake can be a very daunting and overly complicated idea. And today's world, with all the information that is out on social media and the internet, sometimes it's difficult to know which is which. In this video, I aim to show you 4 methods of tracking your food intake and your calories, and the pros and cons of each. So the methods I'm going to be talking about today are methods A, B and C. Now C will be breaking down into C1 and C2. So let's start with method A. Method A is the simplest form of nutrition management. Now this is ideal for people who are just starting out in nutrition, tracking and trying to understand where they sit on the scale, or somebody who's incredibly busy, running a busy family home or an incredibly busy work life. For method A to be given the best chance of success, you should already have a good understanding of calorie intake. You should also understand portion control quite well, just so then you know the choices you're making are the correct ones. It's effectively a food diary. As you can see here, I've written a mock one up. Monday through Sunday along the top, and then breakfast, lunch and dinner, and a whole food snack. 3 square meals a day, as you can see there, having a whole food snack when genuine hunger strikes. You do this for a prolonged period of time, and then say a month later, and then you measure your results by stepping on scales, taking your waist measurements, such like that, and then identifying where there's been a loss or a gain or a maintenance. For this method to work, you have to be really honest with yourself. You have to write down everything that you're eating. Say for instance on a Wednesday, you have 3 snacks instead of 1 because of outside pressures and stresses. You need to be logging that, because if you continue to log that over time, you'll be able to notice that you're eating more on that day, and maybe that's the reason. If you're gaining weight, for instance, you don't want to gain weight, or if you're not eating on a certain day as much as you would usually and you're trying to gain weight as it is, maybe you can identify that problem there and then. So for this method, dietary adherence, logging everything down in layman's terms, is key. Otherwise it just won't work and it won't be an effective way of logging what you're eating. So that method's a really overall general way of understanding what you're eating. And the pros of it, as I said, it's the simplest form of nutrition logging. It's quite easy to do if you just have those cues to remind yourself that you're doing it. The cons of it, if you're trying to dial in your nutrition and trying to really understand where you have deficiencies, it's not going to give you that level of accuracy that you think it would. So just bear that in mind when you're logging your food. If you're using method A, it's a good start point for a lot of people, but very quickly people who are viewing this video hopefully will move on to a more specific way of measuring what they're eating, just to dial in the nutrition. On to method B. Method B is largely similar to method A, except with one key difference. In this method, you're going to be actively tracking your calories. Now, this is ideal for people who have more advanced goals when it comes to fitness and nutrition, i.e. aesthetic or strength-based goals. And it's good for people who struggle with appetite, understanding that they overeat or undereat and trying to balance that out accordingly. So having the calorie understanding and basing it towards a calorie-based goal is a good idea to try and break down your nutrition. And to give this method the best chance of success, the person doing it should have a really good idea of exactly how many calories they need per day. And that's done by understanding your BMR, your basal metabolic rate. There's really complicated ways of doing this called the Harris-Benedict equation. Search it up online. Or there's a really simple but not as accurate way of doing your body weight times a certain number for males times 24, for females times 22. Now that isn't completely accurate and it's more of a general guess. So to understand that, I would suggest going online and searching a BMR calculator. The BMR calculator in itself is not an accurate depiction of how many calories you need per day. You would then have to times that by a activity multiplier to get your TDEE. I'm sure you've heard of that before, and it's your total daily energy expenditure. The general idea of this method is the same as method A. It's a food log, only this time you have calorie breakdown. So you understand, say for instance, 2,400 calories a day. That's a number I've picked out of thin air. And you understand that maybe you don't have such a big breakfast, but you really enjoy a good sized lunch and a smallish dinner. So you would break down those calories, understanding lean proteins, vegetable sources, fruit sources and starchy or non-starchy carbohydrates to build up your calories throughout the day. Just understanding, again, portion sizes and making sure you're aware of a decent lean protein source and a good amount of vegetables. You go about this method exactly the same way as method A. You'd log it, say, over a prolonged period of time and do measurements based on your results, say over a month, and you take waist measurements or step on the scales and understand that maybe if you're eating more calories over a certain period of time, say again a Wednesday afternoon for instance, and you understand that maybe that's having a massive impact, say it's an extra 180 calories a day. Well, if you do that over a month, say once a week, that's a lot of extra calories that can. So now I'll talk about method C. And method C, as I said before, is broken down into two parts, C1 and C2. Now, method C, both of them are for, I would suggest, serious trainers. So C1 is much the same with regards to calorie intake and tracking that calorie intake and understanding what calories you need, again with a food log. Vital difference is you track protein as one macronutrient. Accepted ratio of protein in a diet is between 1 and 2 grams per kilogram of the body weight of a person. So, for instance, I myself weigh 81.5 kilos at the moment, and I'm aiming at, I try and get between 150 and 160 grams of protein a day. Now, method C1 is really good as a push on from method B, just to get you more dialed into this, get you more dialed into the nutrition side of things. Again, this is all logging your food and dietary adherence and writing down exactly what you're eating. Now, for people who are serious about training and nutrition, I'd argue that you should find it relatively easy to be tracking what you're eating, to dial in that nutrition, to get the goals you want to achieve. So C1, about tracking protein and calories, obviously you have to have an understanding of your overall calorie intake, your basal metabolic rate times by your activity multiplier to get your total daily energy expenditure. But then understanding that 1 to 2 grams, usually go 2 grams, just make it simple, 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, you're going to be hitting that correct protein goal, so you ensure muscle growth and muscle recovery as best you can. That's method C1. Now the pros of that, as I said, you're building muscle growth, you're hitting the targets you need to hit. It's written down clear, black and white, I need to hit this. The cons, as I said, people get sucked into those numbers and it becomes like a worm in your ear, like, oh, I need to hit that, I need to hit that. And that's not conducive to good health in the long term. Having said that, there's C2. Method C2 is all macronutrients, proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. This is an understanding of exactly what you need to be eating per day in your macronutrient intake, dialed in to the very gram. Now, understanding your carbohydrate intake and how to calculate your macronutrients, that is a very complicated issue, and that will require an actual video on me just how to split that down. But there are plenty of websites and applications out there to tell you what you need. I put a little asterisk on that and say take it all with a pinch of salt, because some of these places aren't particularly accurate, they're not particularly great, but there are some good ones out there. Do your own research. Certainly, obviously, I'm a big advocate of the BTN Academy. They've got some really good information there, so if you're needing any further information, go there, go have a look at what they're saying. They've got a BMR calculator tool there. They'll show you how to do your total daily energy expenditure multiplier, so you know exactly how many calories you need. To recap, method C2 and logging your overall macronutrient content, that is a very labor intensive, it's ideal for people who are, very list orientated, like to tick off things. So yes, I've hit that, I've hit that, I've hit that. And it takes time, it takes effort and dedications. There are many great applications out there. The most famous one, and the one I will say is good because I use it, is MyFitnessPal. It's really simple and easy to use for calorie tracking. You've got the simple version, the non-premium one where you don't have to pay for anything, but that's a lot more restricted in what you can do. Whereas the premium version, the Super King version, or whatever you want to call it, that you can adjust your macronutrient goals and proteins, fats, carbohydrates. You set proper goals with regards to timelines and stuff like that, add weights and stuff. So to cap the 4 different methods, there are a lot of them with regards to the methods, and there's a lot to take in on it. But method A, really ideal beginners, for people who are just getting in and want to start getting dietary adherence down and start logging what they're eating. Method B, a bit more in tune, understanding calorie intake, calorie balance. Method C1, going into protein content and then calorie balance on top of that. And then C2, really dialed in information for serious trainers. So all of them are based off a food log. They all do the same, like you all follow them the same way. You write it out, you log out, you plan. Maybe if you want to plan on Sunday. I'm not a massive fan of diet plans and say writing down Sunday, I'm going to eat this, this, and this. That's great in the long. But what happens when life happens and you go off plan and you're like, oh, now what? That's why MyFitnessPal works really well, because you can scan barcodes, you can type stuff in and look for these items and understand their content. MyFitnessPal isn't 100% accurate, but it's the best inaccurate form of accuracy. I work off of C2 because I'm trying to obtain the best results possible in the shortest amounts of time possible. Yes, I go off plan quite a lot, and life happens. I'm married, I've got a child, so when my daughter wants an ice cream, I want an ice cream too because it looks good. So I'm not seriously suggesting I have to stick to that 24/7 because life will get in the way and you need to enjoy yourself. So don't get too sucked into the numbers. The best option is the easy option. It's the one that takes least effort for you to do, that you don't even have to think about, because over time that will be easier to adhere to. I really hope you've liked this video. Been a bit more of an informational one, so a lot of information there. Next video I want to do, I'll probably end up doing a review of my Metcon 4 patches right before the Metcon 5 and the Reebok Nano 9s come out. Great. But hey, I'm sure I'll get those later on down the line as well. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Please like the video, it really will help the channel. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new to this.